There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a scary movie.
I don't think he's dead. Contact.
Part of the theme of the movie is becoming like part of the making of the movie.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk. I'm John and this is Matt. Today we decided we're going to do a discussion video on one of our favorite directors, Wes Craven, and we're going to talk about all of his films. We're going to start right at the beginning, not his porn films, which Matt didn't know that.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, hey, everyone's got to start somewhere. So yeah, he got to start making porn films. I don't think he appeared in them, but he did get his start.
If he appeared in it, I'd watch Wes Craven.
I mean, hey, I don't know. I don't know if I want to see it. Actually, out of the directors, he's not a bad-looking guy. But anyway, he got his start in 1972 as far as his feature-length films with The Last House on the Left. That's a real down and dirty, gritty horror film if I ever saw one. It really makes you uncomfortable. Yeah, I would say that it's very tough to watch. And that Blu-ray itself, that is not from any major studio, right? It's not a boutique label.
No, this is WB. However, Arrow Video has a Blu-ray release of this, which I do not have. I have just the regular.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that movie, it's tough to watch. I've only seen it in my lifetime 2 times. There's a remake, and we will have a comparison video that Matt did coming out very soon, so I don't want to linger too much on this one. I want to get into his other film that came out in the 70s, 1977's, The Hills Have Eyes. And I have the 4K Arrow release of this. You have the Blu-ray release. And The Hills Have Eyes is... I just rewatched this, and it is very low budget. And it's alright. It's pretty good. It's filmed on 16mm film, and boy, can you tell. I don't know if this needed a 4K release.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't a bad Blu-ray. Again, you're down to the source, so you can only do so much. I think the remake is better.
The remake is better, which he was an executive on. You gotta remember, this is something, so... The producer saw The Last House on the Left, and he said, "Okay, can you do that again?" And this movie was made for under $100,000, I believe, or very close to it, and it's very low budget, and it made a lot of its money back. And that's
what year was this?
1977.
77.
Yeah, okay. I mean, and you could see that this movie had a huge influence on Rob Zombie, like
big time, Rob Zombie. Yep.
But
and I in 1977. This would have been a fantastic movie.
That came out the same year as Star Wars.
Ooh, okay, never mind. So, still, like, for...
The horror genre.
For what it has done for the horror genre, what it is at the time, it's still watchable, but it's not the best movie ever.
No, I don't think so.
It's not a bad movie. It's worth a watch if you haven't seen it.
I'm glad I have the Arrow 4K, and then after he did that, he did Deadly Blessing, which I don't think both of us have seen.
Yeah, that one I passed on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know too much about it. I feel like the first great Wes Craven movie was really Nightmare.
Yes, which in between Deadly Blessing, he did Swamp Thing, which was very hard for us to actually get a hold of to watch.
That one is out of print, so I believe it's a Scream Factory release. It goes for about $40-50 on eBay. It looks like I was very close to pulling the trigger on it, but it's a DC.
It's a DC property.
Superhero, or it's a DC character, and Wes Craven directed a movie about it. So it looked okay. I wasn't sure if I wanted to spend the $40 on it.
Wes Craven had a hard line to finally making studio feature-length films. Like, really, he was making low budget stuff in the 70s, and then even in the early 80s, he got that, and then it really wasn't until, like you said, we got to 1984, and he did A Nightmare on Elm Street. Again, that is a pretty low-budget horror film for the time. New Line Cinema is known as...
The house that Freddy built.
Yeah, so, they made a gamble on A Nightmare on Elm Street with a very, low-budget horror filmmaking director with a very unproven actor in, Robert Englund and, the actress who plays Nancy, Heather Langenkamp. Mm-hmm. These are all unknown names. You got a Johnny Depp in his first film.
Yep.
And he did an incredible job. He knocked it out of the park. A Nightmare on Elm Street, that's the film that got me in the horror. That's my first horror film.
I think so. too. Either that or Halloween. I can't remember.
Yeah. So he just killed it right there. But, this wasn't like, oh my god, a first-time director who just knocked it out of the park first time. It took him forever. It's 12 years after The Last House on the Left.
But, I mean, I feel like this is what he's most known for, is probably Nightmare on Elm Street or maybe Scream. I'm not sure, but this is probably the most iconic character. He's just an iconic character in pop culture now. Freddy Krueger. Everyone knows who Freddy Krueger is, and Wes Craven made him.
Yeah, and he would return to the series as a director until when we get to it, we'll talk about it. But he was an executive producer. Yeah, he was also a writer on A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. So ironically,
Dream Warriors.
Yes,
that's my favorite one.
Yeah, he was not the director on that though.
Right.
So after this, he did a film called Deadly Friend, which I have not seen either.
No, that one looked like a robot, kind of like a Rob the Robot type thing comes alive or some shit like that. I don't know.
But in the late 80s, then in 1988, he did The Serpent the Rainbow, which I watched for this actually, and that stars Bill Pullman, who would eventually be the president of the United States in Independence Day. Yeah, and this is Bill Pullman, and actually
not go quietly into the night.
So he did that, that's a movie that's about voodoo, and I watched it, and it might be his best looking film, but it is not his best film. I particularly didn't enjoy it. It was an uncomfortable horror movie for sure, and it has great reviews, but it didn't work for me entirely.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
No, you didn't, but one we both did see that came out in 1989, and that is Shocker.
Shocker.
Which I'm going to be honest with you guys. We got Scream, we got A Nightmare on Elm Street, and then at number 3 for me, we got Shocker. This
Shocker's
movie,
fantastic.
It really is fantastic. I don't know if you guys have seen Shocker. Now, this movie is an over-the-top, scene-chewing, scene-stealing, just over-the-top, ridiculous horror movie from the late 80s. It tells the story of basically a serial killer played by Skinner from the X-Files, which I've never seen him do anything like this.
Yeah.
And he just plays a serial killer, and eventually, you think, okay, we're seeing a serial killer story. This just goes places you could never imagine.
Oh, yeah.
This
is a hidden gem.
It really is.
This is a great movie.
I don't want to spoil it, because I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but this is really an incredible movie. Like I said, it's over the top ridiculous.
And this was what year?
1989.
89, so the year I was born. And this is I guess this is kind of on the tail end of it, actually. But Alice Cooper was in this, and he did some music for it. I think Alice Cooper did some Friday the 13th stuff as well.
Oh yeah, he did. The Man Behind the Mask, which I love.
I love all that stuff. Well, you get the Alice Cooper's fucking awesome.
Oh, this is so much of the 80s. This is very much and he came in, just squeaked in the late 80s, and this feels like an 80s horror film. It's over, I'll keep saying, it's just so over the top. I feel like you're going to have to go into it. If you're a fan of cheesy 80s horror movies like this is for you. And me and Matt love these kind of movies, and Wes Craven made it. We love it.
If you're watching this video, I'm sure you've seen Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm sure you've seen all the Screams. If we can recommend one out of this pile, it has to be Shocker.
Yes, that's definitely the one that we have to recommend out of all of these. But one we just kind of skim by, and Matt wants to talk about real quick, and that is The Hills Have Eyes too, because Matt has a really nice Arrow.
Yeah, this is one of those nice releases from Arrow where you get the hardcover and all the extra stuff inside. There's a poster, the Blu-ray, a little booklet. And this is just a super nice little set Arrow put out. It's not 4K, but this is also out of print. And you can't even get Hills Have Eyes in Region A on Blu-ray anymore from Arrow or anywhere, really. It's just, this one's kind of hard to get. I think this will probably come to 4K since they did the original.
Which I have.
I actually like Part 2 better than the original. Did you watch Part 2?
No, but I do. I've seen it though. I know about this, and I've seen it. Again, it's they kind of took the original premise. I think they used motorbike.
The dirt bikes.
Yeah,
I like that. I'm a big dirt biker.
Yeah, so I knew this would play into it. It's good. I don't love both of them, to be honest with you. And then in the 90s, he started it off in 1991 with The People Under the Stairs, which I have seen, and I also have this release from Scream Factory. But you saw this for the first time, right?
This was my first time seeing it. It was okay. I didn't absolutely love it. I remember you gave it much higher regard.
Yeah, I think it's a very coherent and it's a good film.
It was pretty cool to see the kid from The Sandlot, the kid that throws the heaters. In The Sandlot, and I've never seen him in anything else, so this is the first time I've seen him out of The Sandlot, and it was a decent movie. I think I would have liked this more as a kid because this is it is rated R actually, but I feel like this is a good introduction to horror for some people who just aren't ready for the crazy, scary stuff. I think this is a good introduction. You know, it's mainly focused about a kid breaking into a house and then can't get out, and he's kind of stuck in the house, you know, and then he finds there's a whole colony of people living under the stairs, technically.
Oh, that's why they call it that.
And, you know, that's kind of where it goes from there, and it's not bad. It says Wes Craven's most satisfying movie. I don't know about that.
No, but this is one that people talk about in the 90s a lot. And it's a good Blu-ray. Scream Factory, every one of them that I've watched that Matt's brought up, that Scream Factory has put out, Shocker. I thought Shocker was a phenomenal Blu-ray.
Yes,
and
was.
This
Shocker
very much,
was great.
Shocker does look great, but this one looked just as good. This is a really good Blu-ray as well.
Yes, it was.
And now one that doesn't have the greatest of Blu-ray releases, and that is A New Nightmare, which is back in that Friday the 13th pack. Which,
Friday the 13th?
I'm sorry, a Nightmare on Elm Street
pack.
They
would never do that.
And this one, a lot of people refer to as Scream Zero, because this is taking the Freddy Krueger character and dragging him into the real world.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time I watched this was with you at your apartment.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which was not that long ago.
I watched it since.
Like 3 or 4 years ago we watched this together.
I watched it last year.
And a lot of people put this as their second favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
No.
For me personally, it's not my favorite, and I don't even think it's comparable even to the Scream films. I get the whole meta thing. And, you know, bringing him in and having Heather Langenkamp, Robert Englund, and even Wes Craven's in this movie playing the character. I do totally get what they were going for, and I get why a lot of people love this film, but I think we lost a little bit of something with Freddy here, and I get that a lot of people like it because they say he's scary again, like in the first one, but it just doesn't entirely work for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's an okay movie. It's worth a watch. It's not the best in the series, but it's also not the worst.
No, I thought the most tragic thing was honestly when her, you know, the actress Heather Langenkamp, when her husband gets killed driving that FX truck, coming home and just killing him while he's falling asleep.
From in his crotch, right?
Yeah. I found that to be the most thing. And I remember when I saw this as a kid, seeing him driving an FX truck, I'm like, oh wow, they're referencing FX in a movie, which is crazy because that's the meta thing. But then in between 1994 and 1996, when he did Scream, he did another little movie which is considered a huge failure from him and from their star Eddie Murphy, and that's Vampire in Brooklyn.
So I never saw that. I actually started watching it on HBO Max the other day while I was on my computer, and I had it on in the background. And it looks like something I would actually be interested in sitting down and watching.
Oh, really? Yeah, they both considered it a failure. Eddie Murphy, the story goes, wanted to get into horror, and he called up one of the great horror directors, Wes Craven, and this is what they did. And it's considered a failure from both of them. I personally have actually never seen it, so I can't say if it is or isn't. I'm just going by what other people's opinions are, and like you said, you saw it, so I can't really get too much.
I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched maybe 20, 25 minutes in and out, you know, just it's on to the right of me as I'm doing something on the computer, so I tune in and out. And it looks like something that I would actually want to sit down and watch, but never saw it.
But then in 1996, he had one of our favorites, and we don't want to beat a dead horse here because he did all 4 of them. But Scream 1 through 4, but Scream's 1996 is considered an all-time classic. It's one of our favorites. People always we had a comment from somebody the other day who asked, why are we always talking about Scream? And it's just because we love Scream.
Scream's amazing.
Yeah.
And actually, Scream might have been one of my first horror movies, the original.
Well, I told you the other day when we were talking about that, I didn't love Scream when I first saw it. I think I saw it too young, because this came out in 96. I was born in the early.
I was terrified of it the first time I saw it.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I just didn't think it was good, and it wasn't until I got all the references that they're making to other horror movies that I was like, oh my god, Scream is amazing.
I want to watch Scream now.
Well, it's too early. Next month we can watch Scream.
Right.
Couple weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one I don't skip every year. And sequels 2, 3, 4 that he did.
They're all great. Even up to 5.
Even though he didn't do 5.
Scream 5 was great. I think Ghostface for Halloween for like 3 years in a row as a kid.
Remember the one where you push the heart and the blood runs down?
Oh yeah, the knives that they would retract in when you stab something. Scream was just a huge part of pop culture. You know, Ghostface was everywhere. Everyone, I remember my entire class was dressed up as Ghostface.
Oh my god, he was a juggernaut because he did this, and then I believe '97 was Scream 2, and I think 2000 Scream 3, and Scream 4 is 2010. There's even a spin-off show that Wes Craven didn't do, but he didn't take part in Scream 5 because he tragically passed away after Scream 4. He did Music of the Heart in 1999 that you never saw. I have seen this. That's actually stars Meryl Streep. This is very much a drama. Like, this is like his shot at the Academy Awards. I don't really like this film, and that's a shame because Meryl Streep's in it. And then there's one I want to talk about. Both came out in 2005. The first one is terrible, and that is Cursed. Matt pulled me up and really excited about this one. And I did grab this beautiful Blu-ray from Scream Factory. This movie's bad, man. And
It's a breathtaking supernatural thriller.
It is. And this is him back with Kevin Williamson, right? Who did,
Yeah.
Yeah, so they got back to... And
That's why I was very excited about it.
And it feels very much like the people who made Scream, but it's like they all forgot how to make a movie.
It's a Wes Craven film, directed by Wes Craven, written by Kevin Williamson, starring Christina Ricci.
Yeah, and Christina Ricci was bad in this. And I love Christina Ricci, but every time she delivered a line, it was just awful. And her brother is played by Jesse Eisenberg, who without his trademark curly hair, and he actually was...
From Zombieland, right?
Yeah, and from, even though you just refused to watch it, The Social Network, he could act. I think this is around the same time he did The Squid and the Whale, which is a Noah Baumbach film, which I also really loved. But Jesse Eisenberg, he did, I don't know if they put a wig or they straightened his hair, he didn't have his curly hair, but he's the best actor there. The bully is played by Milo Ventimiglia, I believe. That was the bully, the guy who turns out to be gay, because he's just making...
Oh, yeah.
He's making so many terrible...
Milo Ventimiglia or something.
Ventimiglia. Well, he is the star of the show This Is Us. He is 28 years old in this movie. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. That was another thing. Their ages just did not match up to their characters. This is a werewolf movie, in case you guys didn't know. Spoiler alert. You think that the transformation scenes in The Howling and... An American Werewolf in London are some of the most iconic transformation scenes. They got one in here.
Really? See, I thought
it was so...
I don't even remember it.
Yeah, because it looks like they rendered it through the PS1 or PS2 engine.
Yeah, I mean, but I feel like even if it was that bad, I feel like I would have remembered it, and I didn't really bump into that.
No, I had a lot of problems with that, and I had a lot of problems with the CGI in general, the script, the music. Even the music, it felt like they were trying to go for the Scream music cues in here to tell you like somebody is good and bad, and it just didn't work at all. This movie, I gave it a 1.5 star on Letterboxd, and I felt like I was shooting high because I hated this movie.
I think I gave it a 3.
I think that's being generous by a lot. It's a bad, bad, bad movie, and I'm sorry.
It wasn't great, but it wasn't the worst.
I had to do it in 2 sittings, you know that? I had to stop.
Really?
I wanted to turn it off. Yeah, I hated it.
Did you really?
Yeah. And then that same year, he came out with one of my favorite Wes Craven movies, and that's Red Eye. That movie stars Cillian Murphy and Rachel McAdams. Yeah. The same year that Wedding Crashers came out, 2005. And this movie is just a white-knuckle thriller. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, Red Eye is awesome. That is the only movie in his filmography that does not have a physical media release. Well, there's a DVD, I think.
Yeah, but to not have a Blu-ray...
It never came to Blu-ray.
Is this a Miramax film? Because if that's the case, it's something probably I'm sure Mac wrapped up in the Weinstein rights kind of deal. Because A, this movie I remember specifically being very popular in 2005. And B, it's just a good movie. And it's something that we deserve a Blu-ray release for because Cillian Murphy is haunting in this.
I saw that in theaters.
So did I. I might have saw it with you then.
Maybe.
Yeah. But I remember people in school loving this movie. So the fact that nobody talks about Cursed, and for good reason, but yet that has a Scream Factory release, but Red Eye doesn't, so...
Not sure why Red Eye has been left out. I'm not sure. It does not deserve it because it is a fantastic movie.
Yep. And then that brings us to his last non-Scream movie, and that is My Soul to Take, which I actually didn't get to see.
Now, you didn't watch this. I did. So, my bar is different than John's. However, this was much better than Cursed. I like this. I would put this probably right behind Shocker.
Oh, really? And that's a shocker to me.
Yeah. So, I guess as far as for Wes Craven, I would go... It's not fair because I have a hard time with Scream and Nightmare because they're just so
Yeah, you know
amazing.
what? Let's rank them. Let's give them our top 5 Wes Craven movies.
Well, let's talk about My Soul to Take real quick.
First, yeah, that's probably good.
Because I really enjoyed this. I would put this in this. So, if you've seen Shocker, it kind of. I wouldn't say it's like Scream, but it focuses around a teenager. There's some scenes on a school campus. There's a football team. There's, just teenagers everywhere. And it kind of had like that Scream vibe. And this is the same way. This is focusing around some high school kids. And you're on a school campus. So you get that Wes Craven vibe to it, like the Scream vibe. And that's what I really associate Wes Craven to most, would be Scream. So I would somehow, I wouldn't say exactly like Scream, but I would compare this to that and Shocker. But it was a really good time. It's like a small little town around a lake, and there's a superstition, and, it's a fun ride. I would definitely check this one out.
Yeah, and that was basically the end of his. And let's rank them. Let's give him our top 5 Wes Craven movies. But only use one Nightmare movie and only one Scream movie.
That's really hard, but not really.
Yeah, okay, so give me your top 5.
So it's really a toss-up between The Nightmare on Elm Street and the original Scream. I mean, I've probably seen them both equally the amount of times. I've probably seen them both 100 times. Gun to my head, I think I'm going to say Scream is my number 1 Wes Craven.
Alright. My number 1 Wes Craven is A Nightmare on Elm Street, and then I'd put Scream at number 2.
Well, so Nightmare is a very, very close second.
And we have the same 3, right? Which is Shocker.
Would be Shocker.
And you said you put this at number 4?
This is definitely number 4 for me, yep.
Wow, my number 4 would be Red Eye.
I keep forgetting Red Eye because I don't have it.
Yeah, so that would be my number 4.
So 4... Yeah, this was my 4, right?
Yeah.
So Red Eye would probably be my number 5.
Yeah, and then my number 5, it's tough for me, but I think I'd still, even though I'm not a huge fan, but I'd put probably The Hills Have Eyes because of what it did for his career. And I didn't hate The Hills Have Eyes.
Well,
it's
that would be my number 6, would be Hills Have Eyes 2.
Yeah, which, I like The Hills Have Eyes too, but I also, there is a certain tone to The Hills Have Eyes that I can appreciate, that mountain look to it. It's just really the budget itself holds it back.
Well, actually, I want to rewind. Because putting the entire franchise, I think it would be Scream, Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream 2, Scream 3, Scream 4,
No, that's why I had to take it out. Because as much as I love Wes Craven does have a lot of swings and a lot of misses on this in his filmography. Whereas I feel like other legends in his same filmography, like John Carpenter, he doesn't have that many misses. Whereas Wes Craven, as much as the Last House on the Left is a classic, I don't like to go and rewatch that again.
Yeah, that was my first time seeing the original. Even the remake was much better.
Yeah, it's the same. It's just so much of its time. The Hills Have Eyes. I don't want to run back. It's just if I'm going to watch Wes Craven, I'm gonna put on A Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm gonna put on A New Nightmare. I'm gonna put on Scream 1 through 4. All those probably before I put on even Shocker or Red Eye. And I like Shocker and Red Eye a lot. It's just that the Scream franchise to me is special.
Yep.
It's just, those are special movies, and we can get made fun of all we want because of how much we love them, but we grew up with these movies. And
I love Scream. Yeah.
So Wes Craven,
fantastic.
His biggest gift he gave to us was Freddy Krueger and Ghostface and everything surrounding those franchises, in my opinion.
100%.
I love his other movies too, but those...
100% agree with that.
Yeah. And that's probably going to do it for us here on our Wes Craven discussion. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you enjoyed this format of us just talking about a certain director, maybe we'll do it again. Maybe we'll call this a director's spotlight. I don't know.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm just making up things as I go. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Let's Talk. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and tell all your friends.